He said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "California." He said, "I didn't know there's turkeys out in California." I said, "We got turkeys, pig, deer. We're one of the best states to hunt waterfowl." And I was like, "All right, go ahead and take them." And the euphoric feeling that I was having, boom, right over its head. My best blacktail I killed was 21 inches wide, the 3-pointer. I mean, that's like a trophy. People pay big bucks to kill a blacktail like that. People are like, "Oh, turkeys are stupid," you know? In my opinion, hunting a wild turkey that's educated is one of the hardest animals to hunt for anyone that wants to try to do that with their wife that doesn't hunt. The main thing with that is to make the experience joyful. This is Blake Manning, and you're listening to The Wild Initiative.
Put down your latte and pull on your boots.
You and I and everybody listening to this owns 640 million acres.
I think he killed more deer drinking his coffee, smoking a cigarette in the pickup truck than I did spending all that time freezing my butt off.
Something that I would hope is that people realize that those are wild animals and they have savage natures.
I look forward to packing animals out. I look forward to that pain of success.
Doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter where you live. I've said it before, and you know what? I'll say it again louder for the people in the back. Your present circumstance should not limit your passions.
This is Jay Scott of the Jay Scott Outdoors podcast.
Hey, this is Ryan Callahan.
Hi, this is Jules McLean.
Hey everybody, Jason Carter here with Epic Outdoors.
Hey guys, this is Tim Burnett with Solo Hunter.
You're listening to The Wild Initiative.
All right, y'all, welcome to another episode of The Wild Initiative. Getting on to today's episode, I'm sitting down with another native Californian here, Blake Manning, California Outdoorsman on Instagram. Blake, thank you so much for taking the time, hopping on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
So one thing I always really like to start out with is just kind of a general introduction of yourself. You know, how did you get, and also how did you get your introduction into the outdoors? How'd you get started in all of this?
So I'm born and raised up here in Sonoma County. I like to refer to it as being north of the smog line. Born in Healdsburg. I currently reside in Cloverdale. But, you know, I started fishing with my dad at a very young age since I was like a knee high. You know, he used to take me down fishing with him down on the Russian River and whatnot. And I pretty much grew up on that river. And as far as hunting goes, I was kind of brought in by a friend's dad. You know, I grew up going to school in Geyserville. And then when I left Geyserville, and I think it was third grade, and went to Healdsburg Elementary, I started to meet a lot of other kids that like to hunt and fish. And I started hanging out with this one kid, and they still have it, a ranch out by Lake Sonoma. And so I started going out there with him and his dad kind of took me under his wing and taught me all the do's and don'ts and, you know, all the, you know, ethics and safety and everything. And then but right before this, I got my hunting license because I was interested in hunting. I have family members that hunted, and my dad didn't. He did when he was younger, but he didn't really hunt when I was, you know, growing up. So that guy, he kind of took me under his wing, and I just, you know, I fell in love with it. He doesn't even know today that he actually gave me one of the things that I enjoy the most, and that's actually, you know, being a hunter, you know, for sure.
That's one of those funny things is like, you never really realize, like, and it could be anyone. It could be, you know, your neighbor's kid. It could be a situation like that. But it could also be that, like, that random dude that you shared an Uber with that one time, and you sat and like spent the whole drive talking about hunting, and, you know, he ends up falling in love with it, getting his hunting license, falling in love with it. You know, you never really know what's gonna come of all that. And so it's important to share something that's so important to us.
Right. And I'm a big advocate on teaching, you know, especially, you know, juniors, and then also people that don't really hunt themselves, you know, teaching them kind of like what I was taught, all the great things. And also, and I'm not going to, you know, lie or sugarcoat it, along the way, there was things that I did learn from other people that I probably shouldn't have learned, you know? And so, but today it's like, you know, I try to give back in any way that I can and teach them all the, you know, the great things that I was taught. Because when I came, like even like yourself, maybe I didn't have my dad teach me how to hunt and all, everything around it, but I had somebody else. So there was somebody else that kind of, passed down to me that I wasn't related to or anything, which was pretty cool.
So what are some of the things you do in order to share your love of hunting with the community? Like is it just you kind of, if anybody reaches out to you, you kind of help them out? Like
Yeah. So, I have my Instagram and I'm pretty, like half the time I'm joking around and being a total idiot. And then the other half of the time, I'm like really either I'm out in my drift boat fishing or, I'm out in the hills hunting or I'm doing something to prepare for it. But yeah, most of the time, like people, people reach out to me all the time, asking me questions about equipment. They ask me questions about, public land access, so on and so forth. And I try to be available to anybody that I can, realistically. I mean, aside from, guiding part-time for fishing, I also give back in that way, but I also like to give back in any other way that I can to any other outdoorsman.
So here in California, it's, the impression like that everyone has, California to 90% of people is LA, San Francisco, with maybe a little bit of San Diego thrown in. Like there's no other part to California that exists as far as 90% of the world is concerned. So of course there's no hunting in California, but I'm part of these, a lot of these Facebook groups on like California bow hunters or this or that or the other, there's hundreds of them. And you see a lot of guys that come in and they're like, just out of nowhere, they're like, I didn't know we could hunt in California. Where do we hunt? How do we do it? Like,
right.
What would kind of your response be to that?
So check this out. I think I was a junior in high school, my friends and I flew back to Nashville, Tennessee to go to the NWTF convention. And I think that was in like 2006, maybe 2005. And we went to that and I met all these bigwig, I met all the professional callers. I met Lee and Tiffany. I met Jim Zumbo, Jim Shockey, all these different people. And I can't remember which guy it was, but his show was Hunting Across America, right? And he said, where are you from? And I said, California. He said, I didn't know there's turkeys out in California. I said, we got turkeys, pig, deer, bear, all kinds of wild. We have we're one of the best states in the United States to hunt waterfowl. And, he was just like, oh, I didn't know that. And I'm like, dude, your show's called Hunting Across America. What? I couldn't believe it, man. He kind of got embarrassed, I was like, man, some people, they don't, California is wonderful of a state we have with like the country, and some of the opportunities. That's what attracts me to, I have stayed here as long as I have. I mean, we have almost every kind of climate you could have in one state. So, yeah.
It's a crazy thing. Because admittedly, it is tough at times being here. Like the weather's incredible. The opportunity to hunt is absolutely fantastic because like you said, we have just about everything. And, I always like to throw this in, we have all three species of elk. We're the only state that has all three species of elk. And, the opportunity is incredible, but at times, yeah, it can be difficult living here because, well, you live in a more friendly area for hunting. And now I do as well. It's a good majority of the state is run and, legislation is put into place by people that are vehemently anti-hunting to the point of just absolute ridiculousness. Like,
right.
And so it's kind of like, and then of course, anti-gun legislations and background checks on ammo now, that was a nice, what was it, like 8 hours that disappeared?
Placed an order and I didn't even get it. The company that I ordered DRT ammo, the lady called me and said, hey, we're not sending you your shipment because it got whatever happened even, I think it was like it happened after like 9 hours after I placed the order.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I think a lot of people got that same thing where it's like, unless your order was shipped before it effectively ended, I think they canceled a lot of people's orders. I'm seeing mixed reviews.
Right.
I know a few people were posting pictures today actually of their their ammo deliveries. I noticed on Facebook, but I don't know, man. It's a tough thing because there's so much good opportunity, and again, the climate and the weather and everything is great here. But then, there's part of me that's just like, I want to get the hell out.
Right. Yeah, where I'm at, there's a lot of, there's a lot of private ground, but if you drive a few hours, you can find a lot. There's, Mendocino National Forest, and that's where I usually generally deer hunt, is up in B zone. That's one of the tags that I get. But I've been fortunate enough throughout the time when I've started hunting to always have access to properties. I think at one time, when I was in high school, I had access to like 8 different properties I could go turkey hunting at. And so I never had a problem getting my 3 birds, I always hunt with my other buddies and they never had any problems getting their 3 birds. And same with pig hunting, always had a place to pig hunt, always had a place to deer hunt. And, and even like I took the suggestion of, walking up to doorsteps and knocking on doors and asking, hey, do you mind like if I could come over and, go hunting? And I don't know how many times you got the door slammed in our face or told to get the hell off the property, but there was those times where people were like, yeah, that's fine. When would you like to come? Blah, and I built a relationship with them, or asking, hey, do you, I would be willing to trade some form of work if you allowed me to come out and harvest whatever animal, whatever season it was. So, because that's one of the things is I get hit up on Instagram a lot and even Facebook. It's like, people are always like, well, how do you get access to these places? And a lot of it is, one, following the law, also, just being having people that I've known that I've gotten to know, like this one guy, one of the places that I hunt now, it's like 4,500 acres. I knew him a few years before I actually asked him if I could go hunting out there. And as a course of him getting to know me and seeing that, like, hey, I give back to my community in numerous ways, I would like to think I'm somewhat of a good person, right? But he was like, hey, why don't you get a deer tag and come on out, And so then I started going out there, and every time I go out, I always try to give back, ask if there's anything that I could do, needs to be done, And those are some of the suggestions that I give to people that are, inquiring about obtaining access to private ground. Because like I said, I'm very fortunate. The ranch that I hunt, I had no problem killing 3 birds this year. And like, even like the owner and I were talking like 15 years ago, there was no turkeys out there. And even in California, the turkey population has just boomed. And there's birds everywhere.
Oh yeah. NWTF has been doing some great work out here. Gotta give a shout out to my buddy Kevin Vela. He's part of NWTF here in California, and they've been doing some great work, and the populations are doing well. I mean, we always have. I mean, well, as you've seen on my Instagram,
right?
This year has been a rather successful turkey year for me. Effectively due to no effort on my part.
That's how it goes sometimes.
You know what, man? I'm not too prideful to take it. Well, I think I even made a post about it though. And I'm like, I'm not one to like roll out in the morning, see a turkey in the front yard, blow it away, and then go put on my camo for the picture. I'm like, hell yeah. I'm going to head my ass out. I'm going to take a picture in my Crocs, my cutoffs, and the t-shirt that I was doing yoga in about 15 minutes prior. And
yeah.
Albeit now that I've gotten my 2 of my 3 birds, I think I need to focus and like actually go do it the, quote unquote correct way. So I'm going to try and actually, get myself concealed, call in a bird. And I kind of I think I'm going to take my bow just use my bow for the rest of the season, because why the hell not?
I told myself I was going to shoot one with my bow this year, and I ended up whacking one the first opening day, and that hunt lasted 10 minutes. And it was one of those hot and heavy hunts. Bird, I mean, just everything just worked out perfect. And then the second bird that I got, a friend of mine and he shot one with his bow, and about 45 minutes later, I called in the gobbler and shot one with a shotgun. and then the following weekend, I took my wife out, and that weekend it was storm and rain blowing sideways. It was just horrible weather for, turkey hunting. I mean, and I even told myself I'm not going to go if it's raining. And, weatherman says, oh, it's supposed to be raining and blowing first thing, before first light. And I would wake up at 7:30 and it's somewhat nice out still. And so we didn't have any action that weekend, but I took her back out the following weekend, and I was telling myself I'm going to shoot my third bird with my bow. And she ended up tagging along wanting to go, and I ended up killing the third one with the shotgun. So that's how it goes.
It's hard to, like, when you've got one staring you in the face, it's hard to be like, no, I'm going to hold off. Like, and that was like, I know if I was, if I was out on the family property again and I saw a big ass Tom come out and it had a beard dragging on the ground, I would be hard pressed not to grab the shotgun out of the car and swing up on it.
Yeah. I mean, I've killed a lot of turkeys over the years, and there was a time for like probably a 10-year period where I was all about turkey. And I mean, every spring it'd come around, it'd be like how deer hunters look at deer season. Mm-hmm. And I'd, pass up a lot of birds and try to kill birds that were anywhere from 10 to 11 and a half inch beards, and then this year, all three birds that I killed one 8-inch and 9 and a 9 1/4, like nothing big. They weren't even any of the boss toms that I was like focusing on, but because like the first one came in opening day and I said, you know what, if it's got a long beard, I'm going to take it. And then the second one, my buddy shot one with a bow, and then I ended up calling another one in with a shotgun, and he was like 11 yards from the blind. And I was like, he's done, And then the third one, I wanted my wife to experience it because it was her first hunt. And that hunt was just intense. That bird was just running down through the redwood grove. I mean, he probably closed 600 yards within maybe 3.5, 4 minutes. And it was just one of those hunts where, I didn't really see how big of his beard was until I actually walked up on him. And he wasn't, like I said, he was like 9 1/4, but, she got to experience that. And for me, I've been pretty fortunate to kill a lot of animals and take a lot of trophy animals. And that hunt was better than the majority of, it didn't matter how big it was. It could have been, could have had a 6-inch beard and I still would have been stoked, because for me, it's like that right there is what for me makes the memory. And that's what it's all about, blood on the ground, blood on your hands, the animal, that's all extra, so. And I thought we were going to get busted by that bird because he got held up on this fence, and it wasn't a fence separating properties. It was just a fence that goes through the ranch that I hunt. And he was back and forth. And when he jumped up and started gliding towards the decoys, I could hear my wife wiggling behind me. And she's moving around, and I'm thinking, oh man. And he hit the ground, and instead of coming right towards the decoys, he started skirting around, and I swung out and shot him from the side. And I was like, I don't know what he was, he didn't really like the decoys or something. And she goes, I had a spider crawling on me. So she's back there probably waving around, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this is horrible. This is, yeah, but it worked out.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, man. No, like I totally get it, because while they weren't with me, I mean, a good portion of the reason I took that second Tom was, I mean, same kind of thing. I didn't even look at how long the beard was. I just saw it had a beard. I got within range of it, stalked it from behind the lawnmower to the side by side and around the chicken coop. Like, it was very epic hunt, Yeah. But honestly, the whole reason is my family's been up visiting, my brother and sister-in-law, and my nephews were up, and I wanted my nephews to be part of that experience. And while they weren't out there with me for taking the animal, I went and taught them how to process it and quarter it and how to clean the meat. And then we all had a meal, a day or two later. We all had, some incredible shredded turkey. I think we just did turkey tacos this time around, nothing too fancy, but
right.
Like they were able to, and I grilled up the heart, and I made them all try, a slice of the heart and everything. But I mean, they learned that, and I prepped the whole tail fan for them. And my nephew is now, I think he's probably working on it right as we're recording this. He went and he wanted to keep the wings, and I'm like, well, they're kind of hard to dry out. And so he took the time to, with needle nose pliers, to pluck every dang feather from those wings as clean as possible, and he's making a full-on like headdress out of them, and it looks really freaking cool. Like, I'm admittedly a little bit jealous of it, but so I totally get that. It's it's about it's such a cliche thing to say, right? It's like, oh, it's about the experience, it's not about the kill. But it depends on the hunt. Sometimes, the hunt's about the kill. You want to go and you want to lay something flat on the ground and you want to take it home. But a good chunk of the time, it is really just about that experience. If or what you put down really doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. And so I had like a few, there was 6 hunts, 4 of them we killed birds on. There was a hunt that I hunted with my buddy. He killed one. I wasn't hunting, but and then all of a sudden, and then the last, I think 4 or 5 hunts that I've been on, I was with a 7-year-old woman. And, this is partially leave me giving back. I went out with this old gal. She's a friend of mine. I was friends with her husband, and I'm friends with her son. And, I called these 2 birds, and they just came in. I mean, one of those things where this bird's full strut trying to run as fast as it can into the decoys. And he comes up right next to the decoys, and I'm thinking, oh man, it is about to just go down. And I was like, all right, go ahead and take him. And the euphoric feeling that I was having, boom, right over its head. I don't know. She hit closer to the other bird. So he drops the gun in her lap, and she goes, I hit him. And I'm like, no, get him again. And so, she shoots, misses again. Right. And we, it wasn't, we didn't get a bird that day, but that hunt was like, that was epic. Right. And I, every time I talk to her, I always, give her crap because, she gives it back. Right. But, and then, but every hunt that I've had, we hunted 3 more times. And each hunt, if I was hunting with somebody who, like she needs help to get off the ground, she doesn't shoot at all, so it's got to be kind of like the picture perfect bird needs to walk into the decoys for her to get a shot. And these other hunts that we were on, the next 3 or 4, I think it was, I could have killed a bird each of those hunts if I was hunting, or if I was calling for somebody that, anywhere around our age or our abilities, but those hunts didn't work out, but they were still, exhilarating. It was one hunt, we had birds all over the place, and it was, it was intense. But as the last hunt, the last time we hunted, it wasn't this last weekend, the weekend before, you could tell that those birds were getting educated. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, people are like, oh, turkeys are stupid, and in my opinion, hunting a wild turkey that's educated is one of the hardest animals to hunt. It's like you got to think they have excellent eyesight, great hearing. And if that bird knows that, you're calling and you're not a hen and you're a person, or sees you, it's just, there's numerous scenarios, but hunting an educated bird's pretty hard.
Well, and it's such a weird, it's so backwards too. And and this is one of the things I was explaining to my nephews is it's like, because we were talking about the tail fan and why they have it and all of that. It's so backwards compared to any other species where, the males come to the females. And to an extent they do with turkeys, but you have to be so strategic in how you set up. And I did a podcast on this, but because they're so hard to get if they catch those decoys too early, or, if they come in and you're just in the wrong spot and they know exactly where that calling's coming from and they don't see a hen there. And it's, it's so funny. They're just so dumb. They are so dumb in some ways, but then look so intelligent in the others. It's like there's just this big gap in between. And if you told me when I first started getting into hunting that I would be this pumped about turkey season every year, I would have laughed my ass off at you. Like, I would have never in a million years believed you. I'd be this stoked on trying to shoot a frickin' turkey.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I was like, after that first bird that I shot opening morning, that like kind of promoted the fire to get back into me about turkey hunting. And then I hunted every day of the weekend for the next 5 weeks. This last weekend I took off, and I obviously harvested my 3 birds, but then I started hunting with other people, and because I enjoy calling and all that stuff, and getting in within a couple 100 yards of the roost at 0 dark 30, and then waiting for 45 minutes and listening to the woods come alive and the birds that's what I love. That, right? That's just all part of it. But yeah, there's always something to take, like, when it doesn't work out, it's like, what should I have done different? Should I have hunted with one hen, or should I hunted with no decoy? Or, it's just like the constant, but there's always something to take away from each hunt, especially if it's unsuccessful, of what maybe to do different next time. So, and now I'm transitioning. Like, I didn't go this last weekend. I'm more kind of like starting to obsess with deer season and draw odds and like where I'm going to put in for what unit, and
the draw's open now, right? I think I saw that email.
Yeah, the draw's been open, and right now I'm just trying to figure out which unit I want to put in for. Trying to narrow it down. There's a way that I break it down and everything, and I have 8 points this year, so I've been kind of like really wanting to hunt, but I thought, well, I'm going to wait and put it off until I get it, be able to put in for like Devil's Garden or Bass Hill or one of those units. But now I'm this year going to put in and just go for a guaranteed tag, because I want to hunt. I figure if I can hunt every 3 years, I'm going to do that rather than hunting, waiting for a once in a lifetime hunt and then wait 15 or 18 years for that hunt, and let's say don't get weather or have a drought year or something. It'd be a waste of a wait.
Yeah. Well, so, I kind of almost feel like for your home state, it's hard to wait for like a big tag. It's because you want access to hunt every year, and there's opportunity. We get what, 2 deer tags, right?
Yeah.
And so, there's almost always an over-the-counter opportunity you can buy, but I don't know, it's tough for me to like try and wait for like a really high-end deer tag. But that's also because I put in for out of state. So I can sit and be putting in and wait for that big hunt and go travel to do that. But then every year I'm here in California hunting. Right. Except for last year, because I couldn't kill anything out of state. And so I missed the entirety of deer season here.
Yeah. So I've just been waiting, with this whole kind of crap storm that's going on. I'm kind of waiting until the last minute to see if anything changes, because I'm supposed to be going to Alaska in July for a week and then come back. And then if I end up drawing this unit, I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off to hunt, So, and we're a couple friends and I are putting in, we're going to average somewhere around 5 points. So we've kind of narrowed it down and whatnot, but I'm eager to get over and hunt the east side of 5, because my whole life I've hunted on the west side of 5. I've hunted the 101 corridor for coastal blacktail. So, and I've killed mule deer before, but this is something in my home state to get up and do a true Western style hunt, sagebrush country, and that's what I'm really excited about. So
it's these opportunities are awesome, man. And again, like, more opportunities. One of the few places you can get blacktail deer. Like, it's cool, and people, whatever, people are like, oh, all I ever want is a big old mule deer. That's all I ever want. Blacktails, blah, 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 blah. I think they're cool animals.
Yeah. We were, I can't remember who I was talking to, but even Ted Nugent says blacktail are the hardest deer to hunt. Right. So there's Coues deer, which is the desert whitetail, and then there's blacktail, coastal blacktail. And we have true coastal Colombian blacktail. Now you get up into the bench leg area, or like from the 5 East or even on around the 5 corridor, those we call them hybrids,
Yeah.
Where I'm at, all coastal, true Colombian blacktail. And, I've killed some really nice blacktail. My best blacktail I killed was 21 inches wide, the 3-pointer. That's like a trophy. People pay big bucks to kill a blacktail like that.
Yeah.
And I got a couple buddies that guide and outfit up in Willits and Covelo area and Garberville. And these guys are, they're selling these tags, these PLM tags for like 10 grand for people to go and kill a 24-inch blacktail. It's just, I'm like baffled. I'm like, man, like I have it pretty good that I have a chance to be able to kill a buck like that without having to drop 10 G's.
Yeah. I mean? Yeah. No, I gotta figure out what I'm putting in for this year here in California. I need to start making those decisions. I've put like zero thought into it because I've got Arizona elk this year. Somehow, like I drew on a I think less than 1% chance.
Oh wow!
And so
that's stellar. That's phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
to be able to do that. It's exciting.
Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked on that one, and that's taken a bit of my just a little bit of my focus. So I'm not sure. I'm actually honestly not sure how much I'm going to do in California this year. I may just buy an over-the-counter tag for deer and leave it at that and kind of put in for points for everything else. Cause, I've got a wedding down in SoCal that I have to go to in August. And then right after that, I'm going out to Arizona. And so I figured I'm like, well, I'm going to do over-the-counter archery in Arizona for deer. If I'm going out there, might as well go a little early. So kind of, unless maybe I just went really, really early in the season here and started doing, super early August or late July. I just don't think I have a ton of opportunity to deer hunt this year.
Right. Yeah. I've been like I started out when I was hunting, like pig hunting and turkey hunting was like my cream of the crop, and I really enjoyed it. And then as I started to really dive into deer hunting, it actually, I became more in love with deer hunting than I did with turkey and pig hunting. And as time went on, for the last, I would say, I don't know how many years, but I've been very religious in regards to around this time I started obsessing, thinking about deer hunting. I'm running every day, trying to get into shape. I'm not one of those people that work out all year. I work out from like May until the end of deer, or even the beginning of deer season, right? Like that's the, and so, and then last year, like we found up in B zone, we found a great area. It was loaded with deer, loaded with big bucks. I'm not even joking. We found like the gem of the gems, and there was bucks in there, 24 inch deer. There was multiple of them. They were just these, Boone and Crockett bucks, right? And we were so stoked. And then what happened was we finally got this area figured out. We hunted it all archery. The year before that, none of us were successful. I got within, I don't know, both 3 different times of 3 giant bucks within like 80, 90 yards, and couldn't seal the deal. But then this last year came around, and we were going up to go scout, and I'm not going to go into detail, but we found ourselves in a nightmare that very rarely do we hear about here in California. And I have heard about it a few times from a few different people, but I found myself living the nightmare out in National Forest. And it really put a damper on my deer season because I did not go back to that area. I didn't even hunt B zone. I had a B tag. I didn't even go up there. Right. And so, and I'm sure people that are listening can understand what I'm talking about up in the Emerald Triangle, kind of what happened. And, so like, I'm not even going to go back to that area because the last thing I want to do when I go out in the woods is to worry about what I'm going to walk into or who I'm going to run into. I like to enjoy myself living in the moment, absorbing all the wonderful things that are going on, so now what we're going to do is we're putting in for a premium tag up in Northeastern. And then, for the over-the-counter, I'm probably just going to go with an AO tag, and we're going to have to find a new place to hunt up in B zone because we're not going to go back to that area that we were hunting. So,
Well, I mean, it's always the, the big conversation. I joke about it all the time, but it's really not far off from the truth. You talk about, I always carry bear spray and a sidearm. I carry bear spray for the four-legged predators. I carry a sidearm for the other predators.
Right. And so this is we got into it with a fish and wildlife warden the year before because a friend of mine was packing during archery season. Mm-hmm. And it's illegal in California to pack during archery season.
Yeah.
So during archery deer. And so we got in an argument and we're like, back and forth. And finally the warden's like, you know what, I'm just going to give you a warning. Bob, we went our ways. And then the next year we found ourselves, and this wasn't even during deer season. This was during, we were scouting, and I tell you what, I would have been way happier to run into a mountain lion or a bear than what ended up happening. And but there's, so it put a damper on my deer season, but this year I'm really excited to get back out into the woods, and really, do some footwork and hopefully have another successful year of deer season where I can fill both tags.
Oh yeah. So there's one thing I wanted to touch on that we kind of talked about when we were talking turkey a little bit. And that is that I wanted to bring up too, your wife's first hunt. I mean, like, she is brand new to this. Like,
oh, she is
got her first set of camo, right?
Yeah. So so basically what happened we've started dating and she's like, she doesn't hunt, she doesn't fish, and I'm all about both. Over the course of the last few years, she's been talking about like what she'd be willing to hunt. And so she said, not a deer, they're too cute, right? Maybe a duck, because a duck doesn't really think or anything. It just flies, right? And then she said, well, but I was like, what about a turkey? And she's like, turkeys are ugly. Yeah, I could probably shoot one of those, right? So I said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to take you. We're going to go. You're going to do everything but shoot, right? So you're going to go. You're going to sit. You're going to experience it. You're going to see kind of how it evolves. And the first hunt that we went on, it wasn't very – first two hunts we went on. The first hunt we went on, there wasn't very exciting. There wasn't any birds around. Second hunt we went on, the birds were literally, when we got there, we woke up late, got out late after breakfast. The birds were strutting. There was about 8 gobblers 15 yards in front of the blind. They beat us to the blind. So we set up, tried to call them. The hens took them the other way. And then that hunt, it was successful. She was just, she was thrilled. She was, she's like, I can't wait to get my license, So, and to me, and if for anyone that wants to try to do that with their wife that doesn't hunt, or let's say like girlfriend or whatever, boyfriend, if you're a girl listening or whatever, but the main thing with that is to make the experience joyful, right? Mm-hmm. The last thing I want to do, and like I was skeptical on taking her out when it was raining, but then I was like, oh, I got a blind we're gonna sit in, we're not gonna get wet. So, but if it was raining, she got cold, wet, there was no birds around, she was miserable, she probably wouldn't want to go back out again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, in a lot of situations, early morning turkey hunting could either be like super ideal, like if you're in a blind and you can kind of interact. But I'm just picturing somebody like trying to take their significant other out with no blind, and it's like, okay, we're going to sit here for a few hours and you can't even blink. Like,
I just told her, because I got her set up with a face mask and she's all decked out and stuff. And when we got to this spot, right, this one area we were hunting the same group of birds that I shot one and my buddy shot one out of the day before. They weren't really working. So then we moved to the other side of the ranch. And that's one of the luxuries of hunting a big ranch, is you can kind of just go around and look for different birds. We got to this other place and, we walked a couple hundred yards and I called, and there was a bird that gobbled about 800 yards across the canyon. And then another bird gobbled up behind us and she says, there's one up there. And I'm like, no, that's that one. And so I called again. He gobbled and then this one gobbled. And I was like, oh shoot, he's right there, And so she's like, I told you, So we went and got set up and I'm fumbling the decoys. And next thing I know, we're sitting there and I told her, I said, there he is, don't move. He goes, I see him. Yeah. So that's, yes, when she saw him coming in and everything and strutting and gobbling and doing his thing, that's when it became exciting for her. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think, after a few seasons, those deer, you never know, those deer are going to start becoming a little less cute every season.
Well, I hope so, because, then I don't have to, leave and she can actually, go, because I would love to be able to take her for a week and go hunting, because that's something that we could do to bond together. But I do like hunting with my buddies, but,
well, there's a time for everything, there's opportunity for both. And, the other thing I've noticed that really gets people into it is when you're able to share that wild game afterwards too. Like you cook up a meal and you start talking about it and they're like, wait a second, this is deer? Or, or this is like, you shot this turkey? Either that or they're asking, what's this steel pellet?
So yeah, she pretty much eats anything that I make. I mean, the only thing that she won't eat is liver or heart. Mm-hmm. But she's had deer, she's had turkey. Tonight we're gonna have for Taco Tuesday, we're gonna have bluegill tacos. So and then I mean she's had all kinds of different things. She's at least try it once, but for the most part, I think that her favorite's probably either a deer backstrap or maybe some turkey schnitzel. Turkey schnitzel is actually pretty good.
I was thinking about, I got a recipe for that out of the Meat Eater cookbook. It was either that or I don't know, one of Renella's cookbooks. And I really want to try making that. That looked so dang good. And it's simple. Like it's not difficult to make. It's not complicated. No.
And I basically marinate it for 24 hours and then I pound it out, bread it, fry it, and squeeze some lemon on it. And it's killer. But even like with wild pig, there's so many dishes that you can make with that. You can make carnitas, you can make chili verde, you can make a pot roast, you can do, pork chops. You can do schnitzel with that too. So, and I actually just have, I think, 2 more pieces of pig meat in my freezer, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to have to, get one of those before, the grass starts really drying out and it starts getting really too hot.
Yeah. I still haven't. And Andy, I swear, is probably going to roll his eyes at me because he's invited me so many times and it's just like, it's never like the timing's never worked out, whatever it is. Or I've just been doing stupid crap like quitting my job. But
yeah, he literally hunts, I think, like 5 minutes over the hill from where I live.
Oh, really?
He hunts like right over the hill from where I live.
Yeah, dude. He always invites me. He's like, anytime you want to come hunt pigs, just come down. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm totally gonna do it. And then like 6 months later, I still haven't come down to hunt pigs with him. But I still to this day have not taken a pig.
There's for some reason the pig population out here where I live is just not as good as it used to be. There was a time I hunted I had 6,000 acres that I could hunt out past Lake Sonoma, out Rockpile Road. And there was, and this was back, in the mid to late 2000s, there was pigs everywhere. Everywhere. And now, like the ranch that I hunt currently, it used to be the same way. It was loaded with pigs. There's rarely even a lone boar walking through. So, and that's due to a few things. That's due to disease. That's due to trapping, obviously hunting, and then also mountain lions. Mm-hmm. So
I wonder if we're also seeing, because we had that big drought for so dang long. I wonder if we're all finally seeing some population issues because of that.
Well, we had the drought back in, I think it was the 80s or the early 90s, and then we had a die off a deer out here from blue tongue. Mm-hmm. And the blue tongue, like, oh yeah, Lake Sonoma used to have one of the best archery hunts in the state for blacktail, and it's now like one of the worst. It takes like 5 or 6 points to draw it, but I wouldn't even burn 2 or 3 points on it just because there's no deer out there anymore. And that's one because of the relocation of mountain lions. They will not tell you that, but they do dump mountain lions out on the Army Corps of Engineers property out at Lake Sonoma. And So there's that, and then there's also the die-off that they had from the disease, which is blue tongue. So the deer population, it's been hurting out here, and same with the pig population. But there's still some good areas like Boonville and the Highway 253 region, Highway 128 region they're doing really well with their pig population. There's a lot of big bucks out there too.
Oh man, I'm sitting here in the middle of San Francisco, like literally you can't see the horizon because of the giant ass buildings completely surrounding me. And I'm going through withdrawals just thinking about this right now. I just want to be in the field right now. Nothing else, man.
Yeah. I don't know what I got going on this weekend. We'll see. I might have a junior that I'm taking. I think it's the junior weekend, isn't it?
I don't know, man. I have
This
to look
week.
every time. I have to look. I can't keep track of what the seasons are out here, but it's
I think this has it in here, this reg book, but
I think, are we officially into the archery? Archery?
So the junior hunt extends a week into the archery season for the general archery. So yes, because that 7-year-old woman wanted me to take her, well, I don't know what it would be, her daughter's daughter, so granddaughter, I guess. Yeah, it sounds about right. So she wants me to take her out and try to get her a bird. We'll see what happens. I don't know, but that's pretty much and then as far as hunting goes, I might do a couple hog hunts until deer season. But deer season here in A-Zone is going to start in the second week of July, which is in, less than 2.5 months away.
Yeah, that's the other cool thing is like I know a lot of guys like that come out to California solely so they can get an extra like month of deer hunting, and they put in for those A-Zone tags, and I mean guys that it's almost like it's their dirty secret, like it's like they wear ladies' underwear and they hunt A-Zone in California in July.
I was talking to the guys at First Light, and I was like, I need, because I got a bunch of Kuiu gear, and I'm kind of switching over to First Light just because, I just kind of want a little bit of a variety. And I was like, my deer season starts in July. And he's like, well, July? I was like, so I need something that's going to be, good when it's 105, 108 out.
Yeah.
And he's like, that sounds awful. And I'm California hunting, like at least for the unit that I hunt, A-Zone North and even A-Zone South, it's like, starts in second week of July and goes all the way through into the end of September when that's rifle season. And so we don't get very many days where the high doesn't reach below 90. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, it reminds me of, like when I go out to Arizona in August as well, it's the same kind of thing to where it's just nasty. Like, and then the funny thing is like, you're leaving before the sun's up, and you're freezing your ass off trying to get out there. And then by the time the sun's up, it's freaking, like you said, it's topping 90, it's 100 degrees. You got no shade. You're crawling through just nasty, sticky brush. And yet we still keep doing it.
Yeah. There's a ranch that I used to hunt up in the geysers, and most of the time when you wake up before daylight, it's like 78 degrees, right? And it's not even light out. And by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's in the like mid 90s. And the last buck that I killed up there, I shot it, and I was shooting it like 350 yards, 400 yards. I made a horrible shot. And long story short, I had followed this buck for the next 2 hours, finally found him dead. And it was around 12:30 in the afternoon, and it was already 104. And it was just, the buck, deer was still fine. He died up under a bay tree, but coming out of there when it's 100, now it's like, I got him gutted and everything, and we're coming out of that canyon and it's 106, 107. It is brutal, so I'm going to be very happy, hopefully, hunting in October up in Northeastern where it's hopefully snowing. I'm going to pray for snow. You know what I mean?
Bringing it full circle to like what we talked about before. It's like, that's the thing about California is, within like 2 hours drive half the time, you're hunting in 100-degree weather in brush and rocks. And then you can suddenly be in the middle of snow.
Yeah, it's insane. Like we're talking about all kinds of different climates and, microclimates. I can drive over to the coast and hunt in the redwoods in July or August, and it would be in the 60s, foggy. And then I come over the hill an hour back home, and it'd be 108 here. And then I could drive 2.5, 3 hours north and be up in almost an alpine kind of area up in outside of Covelo, at like 7,000 feet of elevation, and feel like I'm up in the Sierras almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not generally as hot, but yeah, it's just, we have a lot to offer. Obviously the big game hunting isn't the best, but for some people it is. Some people have some great places to go and have some great ranches to hunt and kill some amazing animals. But for the public land hunter, I think California, it can be good if you put the footwork into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some people just get dumb luck. Like I know a guy doesn't even really hunt. He killed a smoker buck. Just, he was like driving some road and got out of his truck to walk over and look into a little canyon, and the buck was standing there and he shot it. And I don't even think he's killed a deer since. And that was like 8 years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. I definitely do not have that dumb luck. That's for sure. But, well, except for turkeys. I clearly have the dumb luck with turkeys. So maybe that'll transition into deer eventually. But awesome, man. So, as we're winding down here, I always like to kind of finish out with, we talked a little bit about this, but, say you're, whatever, you're talking to someone you happen to run into, they know you're a hunter or whatever it is. And they're like, man, all of that's so cool. I've always wanted to go hunting. I'm super into it, but I don't know. It seems expensive. There's like a lot of stuff I got to learn. It's just really intimidating for me. I don't think it's something I could do. What encouragement, what words of wisdom would you give to that person?
I mean, obviously hunting can be very expensive. For the blue collar person, you can kind of like, recently I just dropped a whole bunch of money on camouflage, new pair of boots, all kinds of stuff. But, but like, as far as, getting into it, I think that and I talked about this on the last podcast that I did, for somebody who's like ground zero, doesn't really know anything, I would recommend to reach out to somebody like you or I, or somebody who's, avid into it. And, whether that's on social media or even if somebody like knows somebody who's into it, and kind of like, just kind of like put your toes in, buy something. Doesn't have to be the best quality thing. It's like my wife, I didn't go out and buy her a bunch of QU or First Light gear. I bought her some just Mossy Oak stuff, because if she doesn't, she's not into it, then I didn't, break the bank for that. But, but I think the main thing is trying to figure out what maybe animal you're comfortable with going after, and trying to find somebody that might be able to take you under their wing. I was very fortunate. Like I talked about earlier, the guy who took me under his wing kind of showed me everything, and really made it for me where I just fell in love with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's how my dad did the same thing with fishing with me. But I think the main thing is, you don't have to have all the top of the line stuff to be able to do it. Because there was a time, like for a period there, where I wore Wrangler blue jeans, a pair of Danner boots, a cut off Ben Davis, and hunted with a 243 Savage. And I either had a fanny pack with a pocket knife and a water bottle, or I just had a pocket knife in my pocket and a water bottle in my hand with the gun over my shoulder. And then I would just go. I didn't need all the stuff that I have now. Obviously what I have now makes it a little easier, but yeah. So, you don't need all that stuff to get it done. But as far as somebody that, and I've talked to people about that, and I always offer, if I can take them, then I will. Like I talked about being a guide earlier, fishing trips. There's this kid that was down on the river one day fishing, and he's out in the rain wearing shorts, a jacket, and these little like ankle boots. And it's pouring rain. I'm cold and I'm in waders and a jacket. I'm looking at him and I'm like, I start talking to him, He's like, well, my dad doesn't really fish. So, he kind of just helps me out and gets me what I need. And I come down fishing. And he's like, I think I follow you on Instagram. Don't you have Redwood Fishing Adventures, isn't it? And I was like, yeah. So he's talking to me and I told him, I said, you know what? Hey, I was like, here's my phone number. Call me. I got a pair of waders I'm going to give you. And if you want to go fishing in my boat and I'm fishing and I have a seat available, don't even worry about it. You just get in and we'll go. You know what I mean? So because that young kid, he's probably a sophomore in high school. He's out there trying to do it. I mean, yeah. And I have the utmost respect for him. And hopefully, and I'm watching him after when I'm getting ready to leave, he's picking up other people's garbage on the bank. And I'm thinking, man, like, nobody didn't teach me that when I was his age. You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of doing the opposite, like, causing all kinds of chaos and stuff. But, but to see someone his age doing that attracted me to be able, to want to help him out.
No, that's cool. You don't see that. I mean, you don't see dedication or interest like that in a lot of kids that age either. Like that's really cool. So if folks wanted to follow along, find you online, reach out, where's the best place to do that?
Either probably Instagram, California Outdoorsman. Like I said, I have a business Instagram. I'm not really trying to promote that or anything, but I do post on there during steelhead season, during salmon season. But if you want to actually follow me on my hunting and personal and fishing adventures, then it's probably California Outdoorsman. Just go ahead and, if you have any questions, feel free, shoot me a message. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can and help you out with anything that I can, answer any questions or anything.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for sitting down, taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all, that'll do it for this episode of The Wild Initiative. Check out the show notes page at thewildinitiative.com/148 to check out links to everything we talked about in today's episode. That'll do it for this week. I'm looking forward to next week. But until then, I hope this episode inspired you to get involved, get outdoors, and plan your initiative for the wild.
Thank you for listening to The Wild Initiative. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes or Stitcher, and head on over to thewildinitiative.com to get show notes, check out the blog, gear discounts, other podcasts from the Wild Initiative family, and more.